the whole thing runs. So, ok, bien. Bienvenidos y bienvenidas, sí. No es una clase en el sentido de, vamos a memorizar verbos, vamos a memorizar todas las conjugaciones. We are going to talk about some conjugations today, but that's another thing. Es otra cosa. Our reason is different for using that. Um, no es eso, sino que es un lugar para conversar, para practicar, para preguntarme de estructuras, y otra vez con las manos y la cámara, perdón, de estructuras en español que te confunden, things that confuse you, ¿sí? Para que sepan, so you know, for this spring session, if there is like a particular thing you want to ask about, practice in particular, either tell me during class or leave it in the chat box or email me later because maybe it will come to you out of the blue, as that brilliant idea sometimes does, in the next week. And I will endeavor to always put some time into any kind of special request. Okay. Y voy a confesar que esta semana, this week, is going to be is something that esta semana, sí, uh, yo cambié mis planes totalmente a las 8 de la mañana, esta mañana. Pui, boom. I had a plan and I totally did like a major tweak on it in the morning because you know how you sit there and like suddenly things fall into place and you start to see this connects to this, and it'll be a good way of like across different platforms connecting different ideas. That is what happened at 8 o'clock this morning. So things changed a little bit. Pero, ok, bueno, vamos a practicar. Um, okay, last housekeeping bit I want to say before I get too far into our actual practice. At the end of class, during the early afternoon, I whip up an email after class. It just summarizes everything we did. You'll always have the link for the YouTube recording. So if you need to be gone on class day for an appointment or something's happening in your house that, you can't be in class, whatever, lo que sea, whatever it might be. You can always watch the class afterwards, uploaded to YouTube. So the email will have the link for the recording of class. The email will have all links of any files or links for YouTubes that we have used, assignments, stuff like that. So that will come in the afternoon in your mailbox, just so you know. Sometimes, because there are links in my email with my files that I want you to access, or with YouTubes I want you to watch later, your email may interpret that as spam, just so you know. So if you don't see it by about 3 o'clock this afternoon, check your spam box. Okay. Okay. Adelante. Moving on. Vamos a conectar algunas ideas. Vamos a empezar leyendo un poquito. We're going to begin by reading just a little bit. We're not going to read a great big long article, but we're going to read a little bit, un poquito, and we're going to do a little bit of shadowing for people who feel like participating in that. I need to make my screen bigger so I can share it with those of you who are on tablets. Aquí vamos, here we go. Y esto es un tema de, de las noticias ah, ah, de las noticias actuales, current news, ¿sí? Bien, ok. Shadowing,
Marilyn, are we supposed to be seeing the article?
no,
Because I'm looking
dentro,
at you.
dentro de como
Okay.
5 segundos. Dentro de 5 segundos, in about 5 seconds, I'll get this up. Bien, ok. Vamos a empezar con, es una práctica de imitar, como un ejercicio de calentar. This is our warm-up, and I'll highlight a little structure that will tie into our lesson and when we get to it. We are not going to read the whole article, but the idea of shadowing is I say a phrase and I break down sentences from this article in phrases that are manageable. When I say the phrase, the person repeats it as closely as they can to my pronunciation, right, immediately after. Okay? Bien? And it's just a way of warm up, a way of practicing our vowels, especially with pronunciación. And from there, we'll move on into the meat. Okay. ¿Hay alguien que quiere empezar con shadowing? Anybody who wants to volunteer to be the brave first first person, la primera persona, first person to do some shadowing with me? ¿Alguien? Anybody? Bien. Marcos. Okay. Bien. You're up in the batter box. Yeah. Okay. Aquí
I
vamos. Here
just
we go.
couldn't wait.
Okay. Todos pueden, okay. Ustedes, todos pueden ver el artículo. Can everybody see the article? ¿Sí o no?
Yes.
Sí.
Sí.
Could
Okay.
you make it a bit larger?
Okay. That is what I wanted to know. Sí, lo puedo hacer. ¿Es mejor o más?
It's good. Yeah.
Bueno, ok. Vale. Bueno, Marcos.
Great topic.
Ok, sí. Es un tema que no nos deprime. A topic that does not depress us. Okay. Uh, and for those of you who are newer, you will see how this is rolling along. Bueno, ¿por qué regresar
¿Por qué regresar
a
a
la
la
luna?
luna?
Bien, ok. En las décadas
En las décadas
de 1960
de 1960
y 1970,
y 1970,
12 astronautas
12 astronautas
estadounidenses.
Estadounidenses,
Yeah, now normally I
unidenses,
would have grouped this whole thing together because that's what flows together, but that I know that word is hard for everybody. Estadounidenses.
estadounidenses,
Perfecto. Aterrizaron
aterrizaron
en la superficie, en la superficie
en la superficie
lunar.
lunar.
No todos entienden
No todos entienden
por qué intentamos hacerlo
por qué intentamos hacerlo
de nuevo.
de nuevo.
Sí. In the decade of the 1960s and 1970s, 12 U.S. astronauts landed, aterrizaron, you see tierra buried in the middle of it without the letter I, aterrizaron, they landed on the lunar surface. Superficie es surface. See, not everybody understood why. Not everybody understands right now, entienden right now, ahora mismo. Not everybody understands why we are trying to do it again. De nuevo es una manera de decir again. Ok, Marcos, un poquito más. Para los 4 astronautas
Los cuatro astronautas
del Artemis 2,
del Artemis 2,
el primer vuelo lunar
el primer vuelo lunar
tripulado,
tripulado,
un viaje alrededor de la luna
un viaje alrededor de la luna
en más de 50 años.
en más de 50 años.
La respuesta es sencilla.
Respuesta es sencilla,
Bien.
sencilla.
Sencilla, bien. Okay. For the four astronauts of Artemis 2, the first crewed, tripulado es crewed, manned. Decimos en inglés manned, the first manned lunar flight. Yeah. Tripulación means a crew, like on a ship. Okay. The first manned lunar flight, a flight around the moon in more than 50 years. The answer is simple. Okay. ¿Quién quiere continuar? Who wants to continue? We're going to give whoever wants to like 2, 3, 4 sentences. ¿Sí? Bien? ¿Alguien? Anybody? ¿Sí? Bueno, Kathleen, aquí vamos. Otra vez, otra vez. Ok, a ver. Bueno, bien. Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christian Koch, you don't need to repeat these names, y Jeremy Hansen. Now you need to repeat. ¿Recuerdan que cuando miraban
Recuerden que cuando miraban
a la luna
a la luna
de niños
de niños
se sentían diminutos?
se sentían diminutos.
And then we name all these people. ¿Se pronuncia Christina Koch? ¿Se pronuncia Koch? ¿Alguien sabe? Anybody know? No sé. Okay. They remembered that when they used to look at the moon as kids, they would feel teeny tiny, diminutive, tiny, small. Todos ellos se sintieron
Todos ellos se sintieron
parte de algo mucho más grande
parte de algo mucho más grande
que ellos mismos.
que ellos mismos.
They all felt part of something much bigger than themselves. Recrear esa sensación,
Recrear esa sensación,
dicen,
dicen,
es razón suficiente
es razón suficiente
para volver.
para volver.
Yeah. Recreating that feeling, they say, dicen, just as they say, is reason enough to go back, to return. Pensando en el mundo de hoy,
Pensando en el mundo de hoy,
¿cuáles son las cosas
¿cuáles son las cosas
que podríamos hacer
que podríamos hacer
para levantar el espíritu
para levantar el espíritu
de nuestros amigos
de nuestros amigos
del planeta Tierra?
del planeta Tierra?
Dijo Weisman,
Dijo Wiseman,
comandante de la misión.
comandante de la misión.
Y tengo una coma que no debe estar allá. Ok. Y a lo que llegué fue
Y a lo que llegué fue,
simplemente tenemos que realizar
simplemente tenemos que realizar
esta misión.
esta misión.
Yeah. Thinking of today's world, what are the things that we could do to lift the spirits of our friends on planet Earth, said Wiseman, commander of the mission. And what I came to was we simply have to, or what I arrived at was we simply have to complete or do this mission. Okay, voy a enfocar en esto. I'm going to focus on this. Here is the little structure that we're going to come back to for a little lesson for today. Podríamos hacer es una estructura, todas las estructuras con poder y un segundo verbo. Poder, poder en un tiempo verbal, in a verbal tense, and it could be any verbal tense, y un segundo verbo, pero un verbo en forma de infinitivo. Aquí hacer, pero es posible usar cualquier infinitivo. Ah, we could do, podríamos hacer, we could do. Now, we'll come back to this podríamos thing when we're done with warm up for a little lesson of sorts and then move that into kind of a bigger context. But this is what they call conditional. It's not important that you know it's called conditional. What it means is that we could do hypothetically, right? That it conveys a what if kind of situation. Yeah, thinking about today's world, what are the things that we could do? That maybe we could do, yeah, to lift people's spirits. Okay, a ver, ¿quién quiere continuar? Who wants to continue? Um, okay, sí, Lori, vamos a empezar aquí. And if you don't want to take a turn doing shadowing today, that is just fine. We'll just kind of stop in the article naturally wherever it makes sense for us. Vale, bueno, aquí. Espero que tengamos
Espero que tengamos
un gran impacto
un gran impacto
para unir al mundo,
para unir al mundo,
aunque solo sea
aunque solo sea
por un minuto,
por un minuto,
añadió.
añadió.
He added. That little word just means he added because this comes out of an article. ¿Sí? No necesitamos ninguna
No necesitamos ninguna
acrobacia.
acrobacia.
No necesitamos
No necesitamos
trucos de magia.
trucos de magia.
Sí. I hope that we might have great, I hope that we may have great impact, a great impression to unite the world. Even if it's only for a minute, he added. We don't need any gymnastics to do that. Yeah, we don't need magic tricks. This little word trucos esta palabra es útil. This is a useful word. Trucos is a trick. Trucos de magia, magic tricks. ¿Sí? Cook, una de las especialistas
Cook, una de las especialistas
de la misión
de la misión
de la tripulación
de la tripulación
del Artemis 2,
del Artemis 2
dijo,
dijo,
nadie puede ser
nadie puede ser
tan grande como
tan grande como
esta misión.
esta misión.
Me gusta pensar
Me gusta pensar
que exploramos
que exploramos
cada vez más y más profundo,
cada vez más y más profundo,
realmente solo
realmente solo
para aprender
para aprender
sobre nosotros mismos.
sobre nosotros mismos.
Bien, sí. Cook, one of the mission specialists of the crew, tripulación. There you've got the normal word that you'll hear more than tripulado. Tripulación is crew, C-R-E-W in English, sí? Of the crew said, nobody can be as big as this mission. I like to think that we explore deeper and deeper, cada vez más y más. Usually you only see this as cada vez más, and that means each time more. Each time more and more deep, but you wouldn't say it that way in English. You would say deeper and deeper. Yeah. The cada vez means you're advancing it, right? Really only to learn about ourselves, really to learn about ourselves. Momentito, un poquito más. Lo siento, Lori, sí. Un poquito más. A ver. Sin embargo,
Sin embargo,
el momento en el que
el momento en el que
la NASA programó
la NASA programó
la misión del Artemis 2
la misión del Artemis 2
es uno de conflicto
es uno de conflicto
y división en el país
y división en el país
y en el extranjero.
y en el extranjero.
Uh, Nevertheless, the moment in which NASA scheduled the Artemis 2 mission is one of conflict and division in the country and abroad. El extranjero es abroad, countries that are not your own. Okay. Los países que no son tu país personalmente son el extranjero, abroad. Ok. Se detendrán. Oh, oh,
Oops,
perdón.
I was mute.
I caught, okay. Entiendo, entiendo. Ok. Una frase más, ¿sí?
Okay.
Se detendrán
Se detendrán
cientos de millones de personas
cientos de millones de personas
en Estados Unidos
en Estados Unidos
y en todo el mundo
y en todo el mundo
y sentirán
y sentirán
que forman parte
que forman parte
de algo más grande.
de algo más grande.
Uh, do you think that hundreds of millions of people will probably stop in the US and in the whole world and will feel like they're forming part of like they are forming part of something bigger? O la sociedad
O la sociedad
estadounidense
estadounidense
está demasiado
está demasiado
fracturada
fracturada
y distraída
y distraída
para que la gente
para que la gente
se sienta unida
se sienta unida
en torno a este lanzamiento.
en torno a este lanzamiento.
Bien, sí. Or is U.S. society too fractured and distracted so that people can feel united all at the same time in this launch? Lanzamiento here refers to launching. It comes from lanzar. Lanzar es un verbo básico como tirar. Lanzar means to throw something, but lanzamiento is a launch, and it's used figuratively to talk about, literally to talk about a rocket launch, or a lanzamiento could be used to talk about launching a project or launching a business deal, anything like that. Okay. Bien. Vale. Ok. ¿Un poquito más o no? Okay. Bien. We're going to leave it there. We'll come back to this later, but I want you to think about that little estructura of podría, podría, or podríamos, or podrían. Okay, it can take different forms, that little figurative thing. We're going to, for today, hear a mini lesson about that verb and take a look at some other really common verbs that are super typical to hear when talking about hypotheticals, because the big idea is we're going to tie into next week, kind of talking about some hypothetical situations depending on, it's going to be a cute little video you're going to have for homework that will be like a couples question thing, but it can be a question just about yourself and your friends if you are not in a relationship thing for now. But we're going to tie all this in together. Okay, adelante. We're going to take a look at this one isolated verb of poder and see how it can morph to mean different things. And then we'll see how other verbs you will hear in similar structures like poder, but things that are likely to come up if you want to express those same kinds of hypothetical ideas. Aquí vamos, here we go. Ok, pueden ver la mujer con la chaqueta negra. Can you see the woman with the black jacket?
Sí.
¿Sí? Sí, ok, vale, bueno. Ella tiene una lección, hay partes en español y partes en inglés, y vamos a empezar. And her focus is going to be on poder.
Podría, podría, pudiera o pudiese. If you've tried to translate could in Spanish, you might have realized that there's more than one way of saying it. All these come from one verb, poder. And poder, what it actually means is power.
Okay, I'm going to stop her there because that's an important thing to know. If we use this as el poder instead of poder, el poder, it means power. Okay. And we tend in English to translate or use this idea of poder as a verb, poder. We translate as to be able to, but often in English we use can instead of be able to. But that be able to is actually a better, deeper understanding of what poder means, the ideas it conveys. Okay. In English, we'll say things like can, could, and Spanish will use different verb tenses. She's going to go through what kind of verb tenses happen with poder. And good examples, buenos ejemplos, good examples of how you would use that, all right? Because each different verbal tense of poder might be translated a little bit differently in English, and they'll have different meanings. So we're going to see.
That's what I like to say. It's poder comes from the same root as power. That's how we actually say power in Spanish. Poder. So at its core, it simply means to have the power to do something. In English, you split that into two ways. You have can and you have to be able to. And you don't always translate the same. But in Spanish, we basically say poder when we mean that someone has the ability, the power, and it's allowed. So it's basically to have the power. Because you have the power because you're allowed to do it, or you have the power because you have the capacity. We also have ser capaz de, which is more like a literal translation from to be able to, but that's a bit more emphatic. That's more like physical, or like I'm like physically able, or it's more like emphatic. So in this video, I'm going to show you how could can split into pude, podía, podría, y pudiera o pudiese, all from could. So first, remember the base core idea, poder, to have the power to.
Okay, and you're going to have a Google Slides set that will list these. So don't take furious notes, just kind of be a sponge and soak this in, all right? Because you'll have something written to look at and refer to after class.
Start with pude. This is the pretérito. This is the past. Yo pude. And when we say that, it's more like I could. I managed. I managed to do something. It's like at some specific moment in your life, you managed to do something and it had a result. You know, you did it, you finished it, and it had a result. Pude.
And that pude has a different connotation than we do in English. Yeah. With the idea of was able to. Was able to in English doesn't really convey whether you just have the ability or if it actually happened. Okay. And that morphing of poder into pude, the pretérito, the past tense, means could, but it means could in the sense of it actually got done. Not just that you have the ability, you know. I could say that I could hike up Pinnacle Peak, but that doesn't mean I actually did it, you know. I had like the physical ability to do it, but did I actually get it done? Did I actually physically do that? All right, that pude means something actually physically got done, not just had the ability. Okay. Unos ejemplos.
I was able to. Examples. Por suerte, pude hablar con ella. This would be something like, luckily, I could speak with her. So this means that I, in a specific moment, managed to speak with her.
And it means you actually got in contact with her. Not just that you had the time to call her, but maybe you didn't, but that you actually managed to make contact with her. Luckily, I was able to talk with her. I managed to get it done. It happened.
I was able to speak with her. See how in English you can say both could or I was able to? With some, you can say can or I was able to, could or I was able to, and with others you can't. I'm going to show you. Another example, cuando llegó el momento, no pude hacerlo. So it's like when the time came, I couldn't do it. So it's like at a specific moment, when the time came, I was not able to do it. I didn't manage.
And the no pude means it didn't happen. Yeah. I didn't manage it. I didn't actually get that done.
Couldn't do it. It didn't have a result in this case. So it's like it either has a result. Well, yeah, it had a result, but the result was negative because I didn't do it. Okay. So it's like I couldn't do it. Another, pude ver la casa. I could see the house, but it's more like I was able to see the house. Maybe here in English, you'd say more like, yeah, I was able to see the house. It was really beautiful. Pude ver la casa, super bonita. So this is like, I saw it at a specific point. It had a result because I did it. I saw it. I managed to see it. And now I think it's beautiful. Specific point, boom, I saw it. Pude. I was able to. I managed. Let's see podía. This is the imperfecto. And remember that for the imperfecto, we usually speak about context, about a general, in this case, ability, okay? It's not as specific, like, boom, I managed, it has a result. It's more like, in general, as a background, context, I had this ability, this power to do something.
Okay, so podía, rather than saying that it had an end result, that something happened, podía here really indicates somebody was able, had the ability, but it doesn't necessarily address whether or not something really happened connected with that verb of podía. Just that the ability was there.
Let's see examples. Yo antes podía correr 20 kilómetros sin parar. This is something like, before I could run 20K without stopping. Yo antes podía. In general.
So before, I used to be able to run. Yeah. I could run. I used to have that power. And you're talking about vague times in the past.
I had this ability, this power before that maybe now I don't have. That's why I'm saying it. But it's more like general thing that I could. It's not I managed to do it one day, because I could say like, ese día pude correr 20 kilómetros. It's like that day I managed. But in general, I'm saying that before I had this ability. So, yo antes podía correr 20 kilómetros sin parar. Here I could say, ella podía hacerse doctora, pero no quiso. This is something like she could become a doctor, but she didn't want to. It's like she had the power. She maybe had the grades and she had all the things she needed to become a doctor, but she just didn't want to. Ella podía hacerse doctora, pero no quiso. She didn't want to. Podía. She had the ability. It's not like pudo hacerse doctora. She managed to become a doctor. No. Podía. She had the ability.
Yeah. Podía just talks about having the power of doing that. And in this case, the doing that action is becoming a certain profession. Okay. That hacerse, you could plug in different kinds of verbs, right? Podía jugar con sus nietos. He or she could play with her grandkids, have the ability to play with them. O algo así, anything like that.
Another one is like, es que no podía pensar en una respuesta. Imagine that this is something like, I couldn't think of an answer. Maybe it's like someone was asking me something, someone was like, all of a sudden someone asked me something, and I was like, I couldn't think of an answer. No podía pensar, no tenía esa habilidad. I didn't have this ability at that moment. I didn't have the power in general. It's not like I managed to find an answer or I didn't manage to find an answer. It's more like I just didn't have that ability. I didn't have the power. Podría, condicional. This is the condicional, conditional. So, conditions and so on. Let's see examples. Es mi mejor amiga. No podría hacerlo. She's my best friend. I couldn't do it. Maybe someone asked me to do something to someone and I said like, she's my best friend. I couldn't do it. Couldn't. I would.
And here's the example that we had in the reading, right? Podría, and I think we had it as podríamos, but you know, of course, these can go in a form for yo, form for tú, a form for ellos. Here it's just podría. She's my best friend. Oh, I couldn't do that to her. No podría hacerlo.
Wouldn't be able to. So that's the wouldn't be able, the conditional. I wouldn't be able to do it. No podría hacerlo. I would not be able. I would not have the power even if I wanted. Okay, that's a conditional. That's how conditionals work. Another example. ¿Quién podría hacer esto? Who could do this? Who would be able to do this? Basically, so the would here. You see, whenever you can substitute it for would be able to, is a condicional, podría. Like, ¿quién podría hacer esto? Who could do this? Who would be able to do this? Who could possibly do it? Another one, podría llover más tarde. It could rain later. It's a possibility. It's a conditional. It could rain. It would be able to rain, maybe. See, in this case, you wouldn't say be able to because it's rain, but in Spanish you would say podría llover. It could rain. And in a conditional way, it would, maybe. I'm not saying that it will rain. I'm just saying that it could. That's why the conditional podría. It could rain. It would have the power to rain. And last one, ¿podrías cerrar la puerta, por favor? Could you close the door, please? Would you be able to close the door, please? We also use conditionals a lot for politeness, for asking for like a favor or something. ¿Podrías decírmela ahora? Could you tell me?
Oh, so here's a little snippet that's good to think about. Conditional can be used in two different contexts. Podría can be used for kind of a hypothetical, like, wow, who could possibly do that? And podría can also be used to make something a polite request, like this question you see on the screen. ¿Podría cerrar la puerta? Could you close the door? ¿Podría cerrar la puerta, por favor? Could you please do that? Sometimes conditional is used, not for it is hypothetical in this case still, but as a kind of soft pedal, super polite way of asking somebody to do something. So you may hear
Marilyn?
Yeah, see.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
No.
before you move on, so the difference between using a command, close the door, versus conditional.
Yes. This is a much nicer, less pushy way of giving a command. Exacto, exactly right. Yeah, this is a less in your face way of asking somebody to do something.
And is there also a conditional of cerrarias or something
See,
like that?
you could take the could out, just look at that one verb, cerrar, cerrarías, if we make it for tú, cerrarías la puerta. Would you close the door? Yes, you
Okay.
could. And that would have the same meaning. Yes.
It does,
And
harder to
Marilyn,
say.
Yeah, they mean the same. The podrías is just we often combine poder with a second verb. Could you sweep the floor? Could you close the door? Could you get the groceries today? Because I don't have time. Stuff like that. See, okay, Marcos.
yeah, while we got you stopped here, and maybe I have a question from an example or two ago. So when she said podría llover, it could rain.
Sí,
So my question is there an alternate word in Spanish or a way in English we might have say, we might very well say it might rain today, as opposed to it could rain today.
sí,
Is there an alternate there?
sí. Ah, es posible que llueva. It's possible that it may rain. Sí, es
I have a
posible,
question.
es probable, probable. Sí,
This is Laura. Can you hear me?
sí.
Oh, okay, good. My camera is not working and it's a brand
Oh,
new computer. I'm pretty sure I have a couple other issues. I either have a lemon or a virus. I don't think it's contagious, but I'm sorry that you can't see me. It's
okay.
my big pet peeve when I can't let I'm not trying to hide from you. Anyway, I'm gonna work on it. I'm following on Mark's question. The
Uh-huh,
podría llover. I'm curious, what is fundamentally the difference between podría llover, which is her example, and
uh-huh.
llovería, llovería, like,
Llovería, it would rain.
and
Sí,
okay, so it's
it
wood.
would rain. Sí,
Oh, okay.
okay. Por ejemplo, tengo el ejemplo perfecto. Ah, si estuviéramos, if we were, si estuviéramos en un ciclo del niño, if we were in an El Niño cycle, sí, hablando del clima, talking about weather cycles, yeah. Si estuviéramos en un ciclo del niño, llovería más. It would rain more. Llovería más si estuviéramos en un ciclo climático del niño. It would rain,
But
theoretically.
then what about habría llovido? Isn't that would rain? It would rain?
With
I
llover,
don't want to get too far in the weeds.
yeah,
I was just
okay,
wondering, is there like it should rain, it would rain, it could
yeah,
rain?
okay.
Like what?
Here are the things with llover. Llover is a little bit different than most other verbs because we don't use it for we because we don't rain. We don't use it for I because I don't rain. We don't use it for you, tú, because you don't rain. It can only rain. So we only look at the one conjugation, right, with llover, okay? Llueve, it rains. Llueve generally means it rains as a general rule, or it is raining, or it generally does rain, right? Va a llover. Va a llover. It's going to rain. That you'll typically hear. Va a llover. It's going to. Okay? Creo que va a llover. I think that it's going to rain. Okay? We could tweak that a little. Es posible que, and then I need a subjunctive. Es posible que llueva, right? It's possible that it may rain. Llueva with an a at the end because it's subjunctive. Es posible que llueva. So if you're speculating a little more, es posible que llueva, ¿sí? Llovió, it rained. Boom, you're talking about like last night, okay? Llovió, pretérito, preterite, it rained. Llovía mucho cuando salí de la casa. It was raining a lot when I left the house. O, por ejemplo, llovía mucho en la temporada del monzón. It used to rain a lot in monsoon season. That it happened over and over again. Okay. O llovía mucho en julio y agosto. It rained a lot in July and August. It was raining a lot because it was over an extended period of time. Okay. Bien. Podría llover o it could rain would be reserved for that speculation idea. You know, you could go down like deep down the rabbit hole of with haber and all that, but that's kind of making yourself do a lot of gymnastics for the usual ways you're going to hear llover. You're going to
Oh,
hear
I
it
just
as
meant I was more curious, like I was confusing llovería with like her example, which was podría llover. And I was like, oh, okay, what is the difference between
yeah,
llovería and podría? Because in my
yeah,
mind, I thought
yeah.
they both mean it could rain. So that
They
was my,
both mean
I
it
didn't,
could rain, but you know, when people are speculating about the possibility, I would say you're probably more likely to hear it expressed as podría llover. It could rain.
okay, that answers my
Llovería
question.
does mean it could rain, but we're probably attaching that to a more complex kind of idea. It could rain if this situation were to be set in motion.
Okay.
Uh, Much more hypothetical, like in a big picture hypothetical. Llovería. You're more likely to hear in anybody chit-chatting, podría llover. It could rain. Meaning, oh, hypothetically, wow, look at those clouds. They're super heavy. Looks kind of gray. Might happen. Podría llover. It could rain. Speculating about it. ¿Sí? ¿Bien? ¿Entiendes?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
¿Sí?
Thank
I,
you.
Okay.
I, I have another question.
Okay.
So just thinking, trying to use this example that's on the screen now. Um, if we, it could be used in like a we conjugation also, like, could we do something? I was thinking, podríamos comer comida chinoise. Can
Sí.
we eat Chinese food?
Sí.
Or is there a different, I mean, does that work kind of
No.
that?
Podríamos comer comida china. You're
Yeah,
kind of asking permission or asking, is this a possibility?
yeah.
Yeah. And again, you're in that theoretical land. Yeah. You don't know if this is something that's either permitted or if it's possible because of the types of restaurants in this town you're in, let's say. Yeah. Podríamos comer comida china.
So
Could
in
we?
that sense, it's sort of like almost an alternative way of asking, do you want to,
Yeah, it's
or
like asking permission in a way. Yeah. See, it's asking if that condition is possible, if that action is possible. See, bien? Did I
Before we
answer your
move on,
question?
sorry,
No,
did
está
you have
bien.
anything else, Mark?
no?
No.
Okay. Just another quick question about conditional. Does it usually go with subjunctive? Like if it's a more complex sentence.
It can, and you will hear that a little bit in the listening exercise that you'll be doing for homework. Yeah, it can. As in, por ejemplo, you know, if we had extra money, we could do XYZ. Yeah. So that podría, that conditional, which you saw in the little article, and I'll leave it underlined in the article. You'll have a link for that. You can see how it's used. It's in the land of the could this happen? And it may be a polite request, or it might be a totally thinking about a hypothetical situation, right? Yeah, but it's not necessarily talking about what's super reality, but a hypothetical, a maybe. Yeah, see? Bien? Okay. We only have a little bit to finish, and then we're going to have a little introduction of how some other verbs you may hear in the same way and what they mean. Okay, bien. Vamos a continuar. Pueden ver otra vez la mujer en la chaqueta negra, ¿verdad? You can see her, black jacket
Sí.
lady. ¿Sí? Okay.
Sí.
Tenemos como 2 minutos más. We've just got like 2 more minutes of
The
this.
time. ¿Podrías cerrar la puerta? So that's the conditional. Podrías. Podría, podrías, podríamos. And the last one is the subjuntivo. That's pudiera or pudiese. This one has 2 ways, both equally correct. Pudiera, pudiese. You might hear more pudiera in South America. You might hear more pudiese in Spain. But in Spain, you will hear pudiese. I mean pudiera a lot as well. And in South America, you might hear pudiese too.
Okay, so the only thing you need to know about this is that in Latin America, you're more likely to hear pudiera, hands down. Pudiera is what they call subjuntivo. This is what is called a past subjunctive. Actually, she's going to have examples in context so you see how it's used. But pudiera. Pudiese, you're really going to hear more in Spain. Don't like get all verklempt and clutched up about those two. Pudiese, you're less likely to hear here on our side of the Atlantic, but it means the same thing as pudiera, okay? They are completely interchangeable. They totally mean the same thing. Why does subjunctive in the past have 2 forms in Spanish? Why the blankety blank do they do that? Who knows? Actually, I'm sure there are reasons for it. It goes back to all this Latin root stuff. Who cares? What's important is that you're more likely to hear pudiera. Okay, so focus on the pudiera part and know that pudiese could be used by somebody, but pudiera is the more likely. Okay.
As well. And in South America, you might hear pudiese too. Ojalá pudiera ir. O ojalá pudiese ir. I wish I could go. I wish I had the power to go. Okay, I'm not saying.
Okay, and I wish I could, but then that means I can't, right? The implication there is, but that's not the true situation. But that's not the way it is. I wish I could go. And there's a but in the background, right? Some reason that it can't happen. Ojalá pudiera ir. And you may hear that as ojalá que. You might hear the word que in between there. People may or may not use the word que after that. Ojalá que pudiera ir or ojalá pudiera ir.
That I have the power to go. I'm not saying that I had it in the past. I'm saying that I wish I had it. Here we use the subjuntivo. Ojalá pudiera o pudiese ir. Ojalá pudiera ir. And now a classic conditional sentence with subjuntivo. Si no pudiera leer, escucharía audiolibros. If I couldn't read, I would listen to audiobooks.
And Laura, this is what you asked about. It's the pair up. This is a pair up. Si no pudiera leer, if I were not able to read, escucharía audiolibros. I would do this. If I didn't have this ability, I would do this instead. And we're pairing up that pudiera leer, no pudiera leer if I couldn't read, if I did not have that ability. I would do this instead. Hypothetically, here's what would happen. Escucharía, I would listen. Escucharía audiobooks, audiolibros. Bien? ¿Sí?
In this case, I'm saying that I don't have the power, but that's not what I'm saying. The point of my sentence is I would read audiobooks if that thing happened. But I'm not saying, hey. So my point of the sentence is not telling you, hey, I don't have the power to read. I'm just saying, if I didn't have the power to read, I would do this. See.
And notice the pudiera is used because it's talking about a situation that is not real. Okay. I, in fact, can read. But if I were not able to read, so the pudiera, no pudiera there is used for a not real situation. Okay. And the escucharía is put in there to say what I would do instead. That's all that means. But the pudiera, si no pudiera leer if I couldn't read.
Si no pudiera leer o si no pudiese leer, escucharía audiolibros. Okay? This last one may sound a bit more confusing, but if you have questions on the subjunctive, I have 2 videos that I'm going to link in
Okay, and we'll actually cut it there. That's really the end. Okay, so we're going to take a look at some other useful verbs that are kind of that you may hear paired up in a similar sort of situation, but verbs other than poder. Okay. And then we're going to do a little preview of the listening video, why we're watching it, because it's going to lead into some conversation questions that you'll have. Okay, ¿entienden? You follow me? ¿Sí? ¿Bien? Okay, vale. Perfecto. And you're going to get all of these. You don't have to take any notes because you'll have all of these in a little Google file thingy. Love my technical terminology. File thingy. File. It's just a file. Okay. Useful verbs and ways you may want to use them. I think I need to go the opposite way to make that bigger with this. Sí, bien. Okay, mejor. Easier for you to read now. Bien. Okay, and here you have what she did with poder. So here are your notes on what she did with poder, and I just have them in the yo form, but of course know that they could be in a tu form. To make it less complicated, I've just got them all in a yo form. Okay. Puedo, presente, there's just present tense, like I can walk, I can talk. Puedo hablar, puedo caminar, así. Pude, the idea of managed, it really, I made it happen. Yeah, I had the ability and I made it happen. Podía, I had the ability. It doesn't really talk about whether or not that second verb really was finalized, just that I had the ability. Podía, I could, right? Podría, I hypothetically could, right? Or also used for polite requests as well. You should know that conditional is special because it can be used for polite requests. And pudiera or pudiese. I put the pudiese in with some reserve because pudiera, actually what I'm going to do is make sure that pudiera, when you get the file, that is underlined because that's the form you're likely to hear. And we combine it with another verb. The idea here is that we generally tend to combine this with a second verb. And it's always going to be infinitivo.
So in English, when I say I could talk to her tomorrow, I'm looking at my schedule. To me, that sounds like past, but I don't use the podía.
Okay, so
podría.
this is something we often say. I could talk to her tomorrow. Which one of those would you use? ¿Cuál?
Well, at first I thought podía, but I guess it would be podría.
It would be podría. Podría hablar con ella mañana. I could talk with her tomorrow. Podía, and notice there's only one letter difference between podría and podía. Podía talks about the past and your ability in the past. Or if there was something that you habitually did a lot in the past. Yeah. That idea that she had in the video of podía antes, beforehand, antes, podía correr,
That's
podía,
more, I could talk to her before she moved to Spain. Or like,
yeah,
I could talk to her all the
podría
time.
puts in land of, well, I could do that, maybe, hypothetically, yeah.
Okay,
Whereas this podía is firmly, it's got its foot in the past, right?
okay,
And this could is a hypothetical. Well, maybe could, possibly could. Okay.
okay.
Bien. All right. So this is always going to be in combination. We're going to take a look at another verb you may hear, and this won't be in combination, but sometimes I think you're going to hear this verb used a little bit in the listening video, just so you know. And we're going to listen to a little portion of it so you kind of get the rhythm. Okay. But estar, one of our like one of the big five main verbs of Spanish is estar. But just as we have poder morph into all those different forms, estar might be, but you won't always hear this combined with a second verb. You might sometimes, but not always. Estoy, estuve, there's your pretérito that's got a foot in the past, and estaba, also the past, but the imperfecto past, which means a habit or something in progress, right? Estaría, there's our conditional, right? And here's the hypothetical. Ah, estaría muy triste. I would be really sad. Estaría triste si no tuviera mascotas. I would be really sad if I didn't have pets. Estaría muy triste. I would be really sad, hypothetically, si no tuviera mascotas, if I didn't have pets. And the no tuviera is again a kind of a hypothetical, but it's more than hypothetical. It's contrary to fact. If I didn't have pets, because I do have pets, the fact is I do have them. Pero si no tuviera, if I didn't have them, yeah, and that's not the case. Okay, so and estuviera is the past subjunctive. And you may hear estuviera, the estuviese, you won't hear so much, but estuviera, you will hear. That's a past subjunctive. So here's our conditional, estaría. Here's the past subjunctive, estuviera. And we're going to look at a third verb because you will hear this a lot, and I believe this one does come up in the video. Tener, to have. And tener with a second verb, you might hear it combined with que. Give me a little adjustment here. You might hear it with que plus infinitivo, that second verb. You may hear it. You may hear it by itself. You may hear it combined in the que plus a second verb, right? Unlike poder, which the two verbs will just be right next to each other. With tener, that little word que has to be in between when we have a second infinitive, all right? And if you were to hear tener go into all those forms that you heard with her example of poder, it'd be tengo, todo el mundo sabe tengo, everybody knows tengo. Tuve, for I got at one moment, really. Tenía, for I had. You're going to hear tenía more then you hear tuve, because often we talk about what I used to have or what I had in my purse or what I didn't have in my purse. Yeah. Tenía is a little more common than tuve. Tuve talks about one point in time. And generally, when you say you had something, you're talking about a very indeterminate amount of time. Yeah. Okay. Tendría, there's the conditional. Like the podría, tendría is would have. Okay? Hypothetically. And tuviese, you may hear in Spain, but tuviera for most of the rest of the Spanish speakers. Tuviera, ¿sí? Si tuviera tiempo, if I had time. The idea of si tuviera tiempo, if I had time, means that, you know what, I don't have time. The fact is, I don't have time. Si tuviera tiempo, if I were to have time. Si tuviera, if I had time. It talks about a contrary to fact, that tuviera. And tuviera, T-U-V, sure doesn't look like it or sound like it comes from tener. It's a very oddball kind of form. See? Bien? Okay, so those are 3 verbs and just how they may morph in the same way as what she showed you in that little video. See? Bien? Okay? All right. So what I want to do is we're laying the foundations for what I hope will become a class 2 where you'll be doing a lot more of the talking. Yeah, but we're laying our foundation today. What you're going to have, and we're going to listen to the first couple minutes. We're going to have a listening comprehension video. It's just a conversation between 2 people. You may personally find that it may feel like they're speaking kind of fast to you. So 2 suggestions. Number 1, turn on the subtitles. Yeah, when you listen to the YouTube. And in this particular case, for some of you, but maybe not all of you, you may want to also hit that little gear icon, the little settings icon in YouTube, and ask it for play speed. I think they term it as play speed. You may want to slow it down just a teeny tiny bit. Maybe. Don't slow it down a lot or it'll sound like molasses flowing out of a jar. But you may want to slow it down a little bit. Your objective with listening to this is that the premise is they're kind of, in a sense, playing a little game with each other of, here are like questions you could ask your significant other. And if you don't have a significant other, you know, whoever lives with you, whoever is your best friend, right? Yeah, insert the other special other person. If it's not an actual married 2-person situation, that's fine. And they're asking each other kind of hypothetical questions. So you'll hear some of these ideas come up again. I am going to print out for you the main questions I want you to focus on. If you don't understand 100% of everything they say in this video, that is okay. You're going for the big picture. Yeah? If there's some things that really super confuse you, make a little note when you listen and say, ooh, you know, minute 8:30, 8 minutes, 30 seconds. She said, or he said, blah, blah, blah. What the blankety blank was that? Fine, come back with it, no problem. But I want you to listen for the big picture and not like look up scads and scads of words. You're listening for the big idea. And if you don't get all the super little details, that is okay. But we're going to preview the first, say maybe 5 minutes, más o menos. So you kind of get an idea. It's kind of almost a game question idea, a what if question idea. Yeah, that's meant to be a fun thing. And I will actually segregate and put in the file what the actual questions are throughout the video. I think there are about 6 of them. Hay 6 preguntas, más o menos. Okay. And I will walk through the first few minutes just so you kind of see how you may want to approach this. Okay. Pueden ver la pareja. Can you see the couple?
Sí.
Sí, okay. Tengo that CC box is what puts up the subtitles. Okay, and they'll come back on in a second. Sí. Okay, bien. So we'll do a walkthrough on the first 5 minutes.
Yo soy David.
Y yo soy Ana. En este episodio nos vamos a divertir un montón haciendo preguntas un poco más profundas.
Oh, we're going to have a ton of fun, un montón. We're going to have a lot of fun asking questions, haciendo preguntas, asking questions. A little deeper kind of questions. Not just like, what did you eat yesterday kind of questions, but kind of deeper questions. What if kind of questions.
How to Spanish podcast is designed to help Spanish students improve their listening and vocabulary skills, and it's made possible thanks to our Patreon community.
By joining the community, you can access the vocabulary guide and interactive transcript, bonus episodes, and monthly activities to practice your Spanish.
If you would like to join the experience, go to patreon.com/howtospanishpodcast. Hola, ¿cómo están? Bienvenidos a un nuevo episodio. Si no nos conoces, la verdad es que aquí nos encanta tener una gran variedad de temas para que tú practiques español.
We like to do these so that you have a whole bunch of different kind of topics so that you can practice your Spanish.
A veces es gramática, a veces
Sometimes they're grammar.
es más como cosas que te pueden ayudar a estudiar español mejor,
Sometimes ways to
etcétera.
study
Pero
Spanish
hoy nos
better.
toca algo que sé que a ustedes les gusta mucho,
Sí.
porque hemos hecho algunas versiones de esto en el pasado y han sido
We've done some things like this in the past. That's all. You don't need to translate. Oh, we've done some things like this in the past.
episodios en donde han aprendido mucho. Entonces, hoy vamos a responder algunas preguntas un poco más profundas que a lo mejor no nos hubiéramos atrevido a responder frente a la cámara hace algunos años, pero la verdad
And she just talks about this is kind of a tongue in cheek. We're going to answer some questions, responds to some questions that maybe we wouldn't have put on camera before. They're kind of personal questions, but not like embarrassing personal questions.
es que llevamos muchos años juntos, casados.
Oh, llevamos muchos años casados. We carry many years together, but no, that's not how we would say it. You guys, you know what? Last session we talked about this one. We have been together for a bunch of years. Llevamos muchos años juntos. Oh, look, it came and reared its ugly head again. We carry many years together, but no, what it really means is we've spent a lot of years together as a couple. Casados as a couple.
Llevamos muchos años haciendo esto, videos y
We've been
podcast y
doing
todo
this.
eso.
We've been doing this for a whole bunch of years, videos, podcasts.
Entonces, creemos que es el momento adecuado. ¿Y
We think this is the right moment.
qué vas a obtener tú de este episodio?
What are
Pues-
you going to get out of this episode?
Va a ser, primero, gran diversión y nos vamos a quemar
First, it'll be fun.
un poquito, Ana y yo,
Nos vamos a quemar. We're going to burn each other a little bit. Just what you need to know about that use of quemar. If I were to send you off and listen to this, you may say, burn each other. Yeah, that quemar is used not as in the sense of like holding somebody to the flame, but these could be a little uncomfortable questions just to admit this to each other. Not grave, just, quemar.
porque
It's
son preguntas
figurative,
profundas
not
para
literal.
relaciones. No son preguntas profundas de ¿por qué la luna es blanca? Y ese tipo de cosas, sino son preguntas profundas de relaciones. Entonces, primero
So these are kind of more profound personal
vas a
questions.
escuchar español como todas las semanas, pero también vas a poder pensar un poquito en tus relaciones, pensar cómo puedes tú hacer estas preguntas a otras personas.
O cómo las responderías en español.
And here's a conditional again, or how you would respond to this. How you could ask people this, how you can ask people this, or how you would respond. Responderías, how you would respond if you had the chance, theoretically. Yeah, that responderías, would respond, is a theoretical situation.
Pues sin más preámbulos, comencemos. Tenemos aquí una lista, yo voy a escoger una, ambos vamos a responder y después tú eliges otra, ¿vale, David? La primera pregunta que quiero hacerte es, si tuviéramos que intercambiar de roles...
Si tuviéramos que intercambiar, if we had to do what?
Exchange roles.
Yeah.
If we had to intercambiar, exchange. Intercambiar, cambiar es to change. Si tuviéramos que intercambiar, if we had to exchange or change roles.
Por 24 horas.
For 24 hours. If you had to put yourself in somebody else's shoes for 24 hours, that's what that means.
No vamos a cambiar tú a mi cuerpo y yo a tu
You're not going to really change to my body and
cuerpo ni nada así.
me to
Simplemente
you.
tú te tienes que encargar de todo lo que yo hago.
If you had to take charge or be in charge of everything that I do,
Y yo me voy a encargar de todo lo que tú haces.
and I had to be in charge or take charge of everything you do,
¿Qué sería lo más difícil para ti durante
¿qué sería lo más difícil? What would be the hardest? If you had to do what I do, and if I had to do what you do for 24 hours, what would be the hardest?
ese día de hacer?
Yo creo que ser mamá.
Being a
Mom.
O sea,
and that o sea is just a pause word. Like, we would say in English, like, yeah, o sea, like this.
sí, la parte del cuidado del hijo, hijo.
Oh, taking care of the kid. They do have a kid. When you hear them refer to bebé limón, lemon baby, that's their nickname for their kid. So don't frantically Google the term bebé limón. Bebé limón is their affectionate term, nickname for their kid, because they don't put his name out on the internet.
Limón.
How do you say-
Creo que
Hijo
sería lo
limón.
más difícil, aunque obviamente estamos pues prácticamente juntos todo el tiempo. Hay algo
Even though practically we're together all the time,
especial en las mamás, ¿no? O sea,
there's something special about moms in general.
la relación mamá-hijo, sobre todo en
The mother-child relationship,
esta etapa de la vida, es mucho más cercana
especially at this stage of life. He's a toddler.
que mamá-padre. Perdón, que padre-hijo. Y por lo tanto hay muchas cosas que yo sí puedo ver que haces,
There are things that I can see. I really do. Puedo ver. I can see that you do.
pero que la verdad no sé al final cómo sale, o sea, cómo se...
But truth is, la verdad, the truth is, I don't know at the end how it all comes out. Cómo sale, how it all works out. But I don't really know how it all goes.
ejecuta o cómo es que
How you do it.
logras, por ejemplo, muy fácil, cómo logras convencerlo de dejar de jugar, ¿no?
An easy example, fácil. ¿Cómo logras convencerlo de dejar de jugar? How you convince him, how you manage to convince him to stop playing and do something else, like take his bath or whatever, stop to eat, whatever, lo que sea, whatever it might be.
Sí.
Que a veces ya está en un momento en que tú sabes, los niños quieren jugar, 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 jugar y no parar, o las actividades, cualquiera que sea, que le guste demasiado.
So he's just talking about they just want to keep on playing. That's what all those words meant. Whatever it might be, cualquier que sea, whatever it might be. They just want to do what they like.
No quiere dejar de hacerla nunca y eventualmente hay que comer, hay que
And they don't want to stop. But eventually, at some point, they've got to stop too. Hay que comer. You have to eat.
hacer otras
Marilyn?
cosas. Entonces,
Sí,
That le guste, is that a subjunctive?
it is a
Gustar?
subjunctive.
Okay.
Sí. Doing what, they just want to do whatever they might like. Que le gusta. Que le guste. Whatever it is that they like.
esa parte hoy en día me cuesta, pero
Hoy en día, that part, me cuesta, means it's hard for me. It costs me. Literally, it's hard for me.
claramente me costaría muchísimo el rol que tú haces como mamá.
But theoretically, it would cost me a lot. It would be really hard for me, super hard, el rol, the role that you do as a mom.
Para mí, si yo tuviera que ser tú por un día, tengo mucho.
If I had, si tuviera que ser, if I had to be, and I can't be you, so because that is like totally an impossible situation, they use that tuviera. That means I'm not you. But if I had to be you, right? That's the job of tuviera. It takes it into that impossibility realm. Si tuviera que ser tú, if I had to be you,
Muchas cosas
for a
que
day.
serían difíciles para mí, pero voy a elegir pagar los impuestos.
Oh, I'm going to choose paying taxes.
Y hacer
Sabía,
pagos y
lo
todo eso.
sabía.
And paying all that. Oh, doing all the paying.
Estoy bien confundida porque tú tienes así en
Estoy bien I'm really confused. That bien just makes it a really confused.
la mente cuándo hay que pagar impuestos, cuándo hay que pagar tal cosa, cuándo pagamos las tarjetas de crédito, todo eso. Y yo no lo tengo en la mente para nada. Entonces sería
No lo tengo en la I just don't have a mind for this. What does she not have a mind for? And you don't have to look up all the paying all that stuff, making credit card payments, paying bills, paying the taxes, making all that payment stuff. She doesn't like doing that. That's what she would hate the most of his job.
súper difícil para mí. Seguramente
It would be really
acabaría
hard.
debiendo dinero ese día o algo así.
I would end up owing a lot of money.
Así es. Ya se quemó un poquito Ana, pero obviamente de la casa y el negocio siempre parece como que son cuentas separadas y todo, pero para nosotros es una sola, ¿no? Entonces, quien lleva todo eso en nuestra casa soy yo, de ambas cosas,
Yeah, who's the one who carries the load of that in the household? It's me.
¿no? De la casa y del negocio. Entonces,
And they work out of their home. So that's why he's talking about, we do this together, but I'm the one who does this end of it.
sí, Ana puede ser un poco un desastre. Interesantemente,
Anna can be a bit of a disaster.
ella es muy organizada,
She's very
pero en
organized,
temas de dinero,
but in terms of money, temas and themes of money or on the subject of money,
no.
not so much.
Bueno, voy con mi pregunta. Ana, ¿cuál fue?
Okay, so that's the type of thing. And I'm going to list the little questions out. I'm going to separate them out on a file and send them in your email. And we're going to use those as conversation points, but they're kind of just fun theoretical questions. But because they have this theoretical sort of element, you're going to hear some of those things like what she talked about with that verb poder. And you already saw the tuviera from tener. So that's why you've got that little file there. Okay, entienden. Entienden. It's not important that you should not try to translate every word that you hear. You want to roll with the big idea. But if there is some little structure that just kind of digs under your skin, that in the other examples, make a little note of it, and we'll deal with that as we roll along next week. Entienden? Okay. Yeah, so they're kind of fun little questions. Wow, if I were in your shoes, if you were in my shoes, what would happen? Stuff like that. Bien, ok, ¿está bien?
Sí.
Entonces ustedes tienen el tema general you've got the general theme. And next week, you're going to come back and talk about your examples. And if you don't quite know how to frame it, bring that to class too. If you don't quite know how to frame your answer to the little questions you'll get, bring it in and we'll work it out. ¿Sí? ¿Todo bien?
Sí. Gracias.
Fantástico, muchísimas gracias. Sí, 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 bien, gracias, Laura. I hope you fix the los problemas técnicos. Wow, technical problems, ¿sí? Es una lata. Wow, it's really a pain. But, okay, gracias por participar, muchísimas gracias y nos vemos pronto.